Good afternoon, Villa fans, and welcome to a match preview, a massive match preview for tomorrow night's Champions League quarter-final first leg against Paris Saint-Germain at the Parc des Princes. I think that's how you say it anyway. Unbelievable fixture coming up for us tomorrow. I don't think anyone really thought that we would make it this far in the Champions League. And this tie now is, an unbelievable opportunity. It's going to be very, very hard work. Paris Saint-Germain are an elite, elite club. Humongous pedigree in the Champions League. Great history as well. Even though they're only formed in 1970, which I only found out today. But they've got a lot of history, a lot of pedigree, a lot of exciting players, and it's going to be a heck of a challenge for us. They've kind of moved away from the whole Galactico, money ball kind of players like they had in the past, the Mbappes, the Messis, Suarez, Neymar, all those sorts of players have kind of moved on, and they've gone to a more cohesive kind of team unit with young and hungry players that they've got. People like Dembele leading the line for them, Bradley Barcola, who is a tremendous player coming through, Desiree Doué. They brought in Kvaratskhelia from Napoli recently, who looks to be an outstanding player as well. So they are littered with absolute quality. And midfield, Vitinha, João Neves, Fabian Ruiz, Hakimi on the wing, Nuno Mendes. The list goes on. It's just an unbelievable team that they've assembled there. And, they are really coming good. And obviously, Villa are coming into this game off the back of 7 wins. Paris Saint-Germain have just wrapped up the Liga title in double quick time. And, they're confident going into this game as well. So it's going to be a really, really tough game for Villa. I just want Villa to get through the first leg still in the tie. Being realistic, if we can bring it back to Villa Park, even with a 1-goal deficit, if we can get a draw somehow, that'd be amazing. I can't see us going to Paris and winning. But with Unai Emery at the wheel, anything is possible. If you wanted a manager in charge for this sort of game where we are massive, massive underdogs, it's Senor Unai Emery, who you want in charge to manage this tie. And it's 180 minutes. Let's not sort of just put all of our eggs in the basket in the first leg. Let's try to control the game. And I think that's what you're going to see from Unai Emery in his team selection. It would not surprise me to see him go and sort of park the bus a little bit, put, a lot of players behind the ball to sort of try to frustrate Paris and the Parisian crowd. I'll come on to possible sort of team lineup in a moment as well. But it's going to be a heck of an occasion for all of these players. We've got some big players as well now. We've got the likes of Rashford, Asensio, who's obviously on loan from Paris but can play. We've got Rodgers, who's now, quote unquote, £100 million player. Boubacar Kamara, who's, as I, waxed lyrical about him in my last podcast, saying he's probably the best CDM in the Premier League currently playing, obviously with Rodri out. So, we've got players and threats as well ourselves. So, this is not like an FA Cup tie where you're playing a real lower league opposition team. We do have a fighting chance in this tie. And with Unai Emery in charge, we definitely do have a chance. But we need to make sure that we manage the tie and get something out of Paris, or come out, with a tie still intact, bringing it back to Villa Park with that atmosphere, with that crowd at Villa Park, the noise. I can see us getting a result at Villa Park. We just need to make sure that we can get something respectable in Paris tomorrow to make sure it's a fighting chance that we have. But yeah, looking at the game, looking at the history of the clubs, obviously Unai Emery has managed both sides. And also there are 6 players, and this is a little brain teaser for you, 6 players who have played for Aston Villa and Paris Saint-Germain from the year 2000 to now. Can you name the 6 players who have basically worn the Paris shirt and the Villa shirt? I'll reveal the 6 players at the end, but answers in the comments, and just something to get your brain ticking over. A couple of those might be quite obvious, but the other 4, you might need to, delve a little bit deeper and sort of to find out who they are. But as I said, Unai Emery has managed both sides. just looking back at Unai Emery's tenure at Paris Saint-Germain as well. I mean, a lot of people said that it was a flop, it was a failure. I absolutely don't agree with that. And the stats are here to back it up. When he was appointed in 2016, he was there for 2 years only. He won the equivalent of the Carabao Cup in France, the Coupe de Liga, twice in 2 years, and also won the Liga title in 2017-2018 season. So how can you call that a flop? You know, his time at Paris was seen like he couldn't manage the egos that are in the dressing room. A lot of big players, personalities, and he couldn't quite manage them. But his game record and his win record, you know, it speaks volumes. I mean, 114 games that he managed at PSG, 87 wins, 15 draws, and just 12 losses, which gives a 76% win ratio. It's the highest in his career anywhere that he's been. If you compare that to Villa, it's, you know, similar in terms of the games. 130 games at Villa he's taken charge of, 70 wins, 25 draws, 35 defeats, 53% win ratio. So the win ratio that he's got at Paris is 76%, which is, you know, really, really good. So you cannot say that, you know, his time at Paris was a flop. It didn't work out for whatever reason. Certainly wasn't a flop for me. He delivered a league title and he delivered back-to-back equivalent Carabao Cups for them. So, yeah, a good season. But Luis Enrique's taken the reins now. And he's, you know, as I said, got more of a cohesive team. He's brought in a lot of young players. He's given the chances to like Bradley Barcola, Desiree Doué. I think Nuno Mendes is still quite young and coming through. You know, they've got players that are, you know, really, really sort of up and coming and the shining lights for them. So Paris Saint-Germain have recently wrapped up the Liga title last weekend. They're on 74 points. The team in second is 22 points behind them. They are going for an invincible season as well, undefeated. So 28 games into the season already, 23 wins, 5 draws, 0 defeats, plus 54 goal difference. So these guys know how to pound the back of the net. But if we're being honest, the quality of Liga is probably the equivalent of the Scottish Premier League. So, you know, you've got this team that are just steamrolling their way to the title every single year with little competition, really. Marseille are second and 22 points behind. So, yeah, the quality is just not there in Liga. And teams like Lyon, who have been quite good over the years, have fallen away massively. And there really isn't anyone to push them anywhere near close. Goal scoring wise, Dembele is sitting on 21 goals for the season. He's a top scorer in Liga. Bradley Barcola, as I mentioned, 13 goals and 9 assists, means he's an absolute weapon and threat. Dembele tends to play across the front. They've got quite a fluid sort of attack, really, and he can spring up centrally or out wide. He has free reign to do that. They've got Kvaratskhelia, who plays, again, a kind of roaming role as well, and he's made a really good impact. Only 8 games into his PSG career, I think 3 goals and 4 assists already. But yeah, he's showing like he's a really good signing for them, playing in that number 10. And then João Neves is another danger player for them. Not 8 assists this season in Liga. So again, a wonderful player from midfield. Him and Vitinha are, you know, the link-up players. Fabian Ruiz, sits in the sort of the deep position, and then Hakimi and Nuno Mendes just fly forward and play as almost like wingers. So it's going to be, you know, wave after wave of attack with PSG, you would imagine, and being the home team as well. They are going to be on the front foot. So it's going to be dangerous for us to cope with that. And then, you know, team lineup wise for Villa, as I said, it's about managing the tie, staying in the tie, making sure that we can get something in this game, frustrate them for as long as we can. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Emery go with sort of, you know, parking the bus a little bit. And team lineup wise, if we don't see something along the likes of Emery Martinez in goal, and what kind of reception will he get after, you know, denying Colin Moane that World Cup chance? I'm sure that he's going to get a lot of stick. But saying that, Emery loves it. He loves the shithousery. He loves all the stick he gets from the fans, and it will probably make him play better. And it wouldn't surprise me if he saved a penalty or had an absolute 10 out of 10 performance, because that sort of atmosphere where he's hated on and he's getting booed, it just seems to bring out, you know, the best in him. You know, we saw it against Lille as well, another French team that we played in the Conference League, you know, where he was getting pelters and winding up the crowd and everything like that. I can see Emery doing that again, wasting time, you know, all that sort of stuff. And let's see what happens there. But Emery Martinez in goal is, you know, definitely going to happen. I think right back might be Disasi. And then we'll probably see Konsa and either Mings or Powell playing at left centre back. I think Mings just about for his pace and physicality, maybe over Pau Torres. But having said that, Pau Torres obviously gives you the passing ability and builds up a lot of our attack. So it's going to be either Mings or Pau, and I'm happy with either one, really, to be fair. But Mings being rested might indicate it's Mings and Konsa to be reunited in centre back. Left back, even though Ian Martson probably had his best game in a Villa shirt against Forest, I think Luca Digne, tried and tested and experienced, will be recalled for this one. And then, as I said, I think it wouldn't surprise me if you and I went to that sort of parking the bus and we see someone like Matty Cash play on the right hand side, but sort of as that wing back, and then you have Disasi tucking in as a third centre back sometimes. So it wouldn't surprise me to see that. As the two midfield players, it's got to be Boubacar Kamara and Tielemans. I can't see anyone else getting in that position. As I said, Matty Cash on the right-hand side. We probably see Jean McGinn in the 10, and then Morgan Rogers from the left is what I would probably imagine that we're going to go with. And then that leaves either Ollie Watkins or Rashford as the striker. Watkins, 9 touches of the ball against Nottingham Forest, not really impacting too much. He's coming into it, obviously still got a bit of an injury. He's still feeling that maybe. Hasn't really done well in the last few games. There was a couple of chances against Brighton when he came on. Maybe he should have, you know, put those away. But I think Rashford probably will get the nod, and Rashford does have a good record against PSG over the years. So it wouldn't surprise me to see the front being Rogers from the left, McGinn in the 10, and Matty Cash and on the right, with Rashford up front and having Matty Cash as that sort of wing back, doubling up on it'd be Nuno Mendes on that left-hand side, wouldn't it? So that might be the safe option. And then having Disasi as that right back, centre back. Obviously, then Boubacar Kamara kind of drops in sometimes. So if Cash does need to get forward, we have that insurance policy where, you know, it could switch around and Kamara drops in, Disasi comes out a bit more wider and allows Cash to get forward when we do have the ball. But when we don't have it, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw like a back 6 going on, especially early on, just to frustrate, contain PSG, keep us in the tie for as long as we can. And then obviously we've got weapons on the bench. If we do that, Asensio, I think he'll be on the bench for this, and he'll come on. Wonder what kind of what kind of attention he's going to get from the PSG fans and reception. Really, we have Jacob Ramsey that can come on. Leon Bailey, not sure if he's back or fit yet. And Ollie Watkins, obviously, if he's on the bench, he can come on for us as well, and you could shift Rashford around. Onana's there as well. So there are options on the bench. You've got Matson that can be on the bench as well. So, we do have options. Obviously, no Daniel Marlon and no Andres Garcia for this one, but we still have lots of options in reserve. And I just feel as though Emery wants to stay in the tie. So it would not surprise me. I think he did that as well in another game. I can't remember who that was against now, where he kind of played Cash on the high on the right-hand side. Let me know in the comments, guys. But I think for this game, it's just about staying in the tie. And bringing it back to Villa Park under the lights. And, I fancy us at Villa Park. If the game is still there in the balance, even if it's 1 goal deficit, I think we can pull that back. And then you've got the crowd right behind us. I remember many years ago going to the Atletico Madrid game at Villa Park. And that atmosphere for me has been not reached. But I've got a feeling that if we stay in the tie, bring it back to Villa Park, the noise at Villa Park will be surpassing what Atletico Madrid. And when Stan Collymore got that goal against Atletico all those years ago, Villa Park shook. It literally shook. It was amazing. And I could see another big night like that. But we need to make sure tomorrow night we stay in the tie. I've got a feeling that we will. I've got a feeling it might be a 1-0 or a 2-1 to Paris Saint-Germain. But I think just that goal deficit will be fine. And then we can bring it back to Villa Park, as I mentioned. Obviously, we've got 2 great goalkeepers on display tomorrow. Donnarumma is good at saving penalties. Martinez is the king. Donnarumma, I think he's not the best at coming for crosses, if I'm being honest, given his size, and he doesn't dominate the box as well as what Emi Martinez does. And I think he is susceptible to errors. Looks like Marquinhos could be missing for them at the back as well. So that could be a big miss for them, and disrupt the way that they kind of play. But it's their midfield. And if you watch I watched the Man City game when City went 2-0 up, and all of a sudden Paris Saint-Germain just steamrolled them. Got 3 goals in 15 minutes, I think it was, and then added a 4th right at the end. And it was wave after attack. And Barcolo and Dembele and Doué, and they were all looking fantastic in that game, and City could not contain them. And then Liverpool also the same in the second leg, especially could not contain them. But I feel as though Liverpool and Man City obviously play on the front foot. They're expected to be the ones who take the game to the opposition. Villa and Unai Emery will have a plan for this, to sit and frustrate, I think, for the first 45 minutes for sure. And then maybe look to spring something after the hour mark, maybe introduce an Asensio and exploit little gaps here and there. But I think for the first hour or so, it's going to be about sitting in and containing. And hopefully we can do that and frustrate Paris Saint-Germain. It would not surprise me if Villa went ahead in this. I don't know why. I've got a feeling that we might go ahead in the tie in Paris. But then I think Paris will come on strong later on in the second half, perhaps, and might just have too much for us to hold out. But it would not surprise me if we went ahead, even from a set piece, because if you look at the Paris Saint-Germain team, they're not the biggest. They're not massive. And I think people like Tyrone Mings, Ezri Konsa, Boubacar Kamara perhaps, might be able to get some joy there. Even Marcus Rashford's quite good in the air if he could get some crosses into the box. I think Morgan Rogers is going to have an important game. He's a £100 million player now, according to some people. These are the sort of games that he signed for Villa to play in. So it will be so interesting to see what happens tomorrow. If you're asking me for a score prediction, I'm going to go to 2-1 to Paris Saint-Germain. I'm going to go Villa taking the lead. Goal scorer wise, let's put Morgan Rogers' name on it. I think just about. I don't know why. Morgan Rogers to give us a lead somehow on a counter attack or something. But yeah, it would not surprise me to see Matty Cash playing high on the right hand side and just us containing it. But yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts. Team lineup wise, what are you going with? Put it in the comments. I want to hear it. I want to see what everyone's saying. Should we just go out for this, or do we have to contain? Remember, it is 2 legs, so we don't want to be out of sight, 3-0 down, against Paris Saint-Germain, taking it back to Villa Park. That will be too much of a hurdle. But as I said, if we can restrict it to a 1-goal deficit, I think we can do it. Something telling me that we can do it. But Paris Saint-Germain are a quality side. Do not get me wrong. But yeah, guys, I mentioned there were 6 players at the start of the podcast who's played for both teams. I'm going to run through those now. So if you haven't already, put them in the comments. I'll give you a moment. A quick sip of tea. 6 players who have played for Aston Villa and Paris Saint-Germain since 2000, the year 2000. Is first one, obviously, Asensio. That's pretty basic. He's on loan, playing for us now and doing so well. Second one, Luca Digne, current Villa player again. So yeah, that's another easy kind of one for you. The other ones, not so simple. So Idrissa Gana Gueye is another one who's played for Paris Saint-Germain. I think he played for them after he left Villa. I think he signed from Everton. So I think we sold him to Everton, and then they got him from Everton and then sold him back to Everton, something like that. So Gana Gueye is the third one. The fourth one, Moussa Diaby. Started off his career at Paris Saint-Germain, apparently. Played, I think, a season there, 35 appearances. The fifth player, and this one's a bit of probably one that you wouldn't have got, is Habib Beye. Yeah, back in the day, he played, I think, like 1 or 2 seasons for Villa. I think he made like 1 appearance for Paris Saint-Germain early on in his career, and then kind of moved around a lot. But Habib Beye, do you remember him? Can't remember who signed him, but I remember him being on some really big wages and just being absolutely rubbish. But yeah, Habib Beye is that one, the fifth one. And then the last player is the French long hair Greek goddess body man. My wife likes David Ginola. Everyone loves David Ginola. So yeah, he obviously started off at Paris Saint-Germain and then moved across to to Tottenham, and then no, was it Newcastle, then Tottenham, then Villa? Yeah, something like that. Anyway, but yeah, David Ginola is the 6th player that has played for Paris Saint-Germain and Aston Villa, and I remember Ginola being quite. He came to us at the back end of his career, but he was still, he was still quite effective. I remember him scoring a lovely long range goal. I think it was against Man City, and then like just showing off his muscles. I think John Gregory was the manager at the time and called him fat or something, and he just basically took off his shirt and he was like, like an Armani model or something, just sitting there with his muscles out and his 6-pack and everything, saying to John Gregory, "You really think I'm fat? There you go." There you go. But anyway, guys, like, subscribe, comment, give me your team lineups, give me your score predictions. How many of you got the 6 as well? Let me know. And until an instant match reaction, which will be tomorrow night, hopefully I'm going to be celebrating a win, please, or a draw, please. Even if it's a 1-goal deficit, I'll be happy with that. But let's see what we can do tomorrow night. Unai Emery is the man for this occasion. If there's any manager that you want in charge of your football team as the underdogs, it's Unai Emery. This is what Unai Emery does. 7 wins in a row. Can we dream for an 8th? Up the mighty Villa. Come on, we'll find out tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your days.